Join Sam's Club and get incredible savings every time you shop. Check out the wide selection of fresh seasonal fruits and vegetables picked at the peak of ripeness. Find delicious oven-fresh baked goods and tender hand-cut USDA choice beef. Plus, hurry into Sam's Club by July 12th and get free items when you join. Get a package of berry chicken salad, a large rotisserie chicken, and 8 gourmet cupcakes, all for free. Stop by today for this limited time offer. Join and save. Sam's Club. Life is better in the club. See club for details.
Blog Talk Radio.
Yes, yes, yes. This is another episode of Wake Up African People, and I don't think we're going to have our music tonight. I'm going to have to get with these people. This music is tripping. We are here tonight asking the question, will black people ever control their own destiny? And we got a round table going on tonight. We got Brother B from Philadelphia. We have Sister Yamoja from Boston. And we have Brother Chief X from California. So we coast to coast. We have these enlightened black people on here, and we're going to try to get to the point of telling you that the way that this black movements have been ran with one messianic leader and looking for a hero type scenario has gotten us nowhere. And we're going to explore back in the day when our ancestors was actually making some strides towards freedom and independence and self-reliance and sovereignty. And we're going to show you how we need that today, how we need to clean up our race, and how we need to come together as a unit and create a political atmosphere within our own community and our own race. Not saying that you don't have to partake in national politics and white politics or whatever, because we're going to have to interact with these people. Anybody telling you that I don't mess with no white folks and we ain't never going to mess or talk to no white folks is completely silly, because they're the ruling class. And we're going to one day have to fight them, negotiate with them, or whatever we're going to do if we're ever going to gain independence. If not, we just might as well be ready to mix into this melting pot they call America and lose our total identity, race identity, and everything. And to some Negroes, that's not a problem. They're willingly going to lose themselves in race mixing and losing identities, don't know nothing about their own history or own culture, don't even think that it's relevant today. And this is why you see the decadence and all the other things that's happening to us in our community, the murders, the black-on-black murders, the white police on black murders, and it's a reason for this. And it's because our people are not organized. We don't have no real leadership because we ain't pick them. Whenever you ain't pick your leader, you don't have one. All you have is charlatans running around using the opportunity of let's say the downfall and the downtrodden people to get paid. And this has been going on for a long time, and we're going to set it straight tonight. And Queen Yamoja, I'm going to have her sister to read something from 1921, how our ancestors were doing things, and then we're going to build from there. We're going to go to Brother Bartley, and then we're going to go to Brother Chief X, and we're going to see what they're thinking and what we can do to try to move our race forward. Sister Yamoja, could you please read that?
Certainly. May it please Your Highness, the Potentate Right, honorable members of the Executive Council, deputies and delegates to the Second International Convention of Negroes of the World, ladies and gentlemen, we're assembled here tonight to bring to a close our great convention of 31 days and 31 nights. Before we separate ourselves, and take our departure to the different parts of the world from which we came, I desire to give you a message, one that will, I hope, take home and propagate among the scattered millions of Africa's sons and daughters. Marcus Garvey speaks. We have been sent here by the goodwill of the Negroes of the world to legislate in their interests, and in the time allotted to us, we did our best to enact laws and to frame laws that in our judgment we hope will help solve the great problem that confronts us universally. The Universal Negro Improvement Association seeks to emancipate the Negro everywhere, industrially, educationally, politically, and religiously. It also seeks a free and redeemed Africa. It is a great struggle ahead. It has a gigantic task to face. Nevertheless, as representatives of the Negro people of the world, we have undertaken the task of freeing our race and of freeing our bleeding motherland, Africa. We counseled with each other during the 31 days, and out of all we did and out of all we said, we have come to one conclusion, that speedily Africa must be redeemed. We have come to the conclusion that speedily there must be an emancipated Negro race everywhere. And on going back to our respective homes, we go with determination to lay down, if need be, the last drop of our blood for the defense of Africa and for the emancipation of our race.
Okay. Now, we're seeing that Marcus Garvey never said me. He said we. He had people that was thinking with him. He had thinkers that were all from around different parts of the world that came together to come up with a consensus of black people doing something to elevate their situation in the world, which was, some people say it was worse than what we are today, but I think that we are worse today because we're not doing anything. And at least these people was trying to do something, trying to make some moves towards independence and towards charting our own destiny. So Marcus Garvey always said, one God, one aim, one destiny.
One destiny.
Now, some people can't get with the one destiny thing. I was talking to a brother today, and he was telling me, well, everybody thinks for themselves. I don't think that we'll have a consensus. Come on, the white man created this thing called manifest destiny. And he came to the belief and made his people believe in this manifest destiny, that his God that he worshiped said that, that blessed him with all the lands that people was living on. And that it was okay for him to go kill, poison, and do everything to these people that they possibly can to run them off their land and take their land and create this country they call the United States of America. So destiny, something that you can't say what it's going to be, but you can sure fight hard to make it, try to make it what you want it to be. Because, it could be your destiny to be wiped out. It could be your destiny to never, ever, ever be free. But you can always fight to change that. So destiny is something that can be changed by almost by the flick of the eye. So we're going to get here. We're going to come to Brother Bartley, and we're going to get his feelings on this situation. Brother Bartley, the mic is yours.
Okay. Thank you, brother. Thanks for having me on, and thanks to the guests, Sister Umoja, and Brother, what's that name?
Chief X.
Chief X. It's nice to be on your show again, my brother. And we're talking about destiny. Okay, we know that we have individuals have destiny. Nations have destiny. So you're talking about something that's collective and something that's individual. Excuse me? Okay.
We talk collective destiny.
Collective destiny. Okay, you have collective. In order to have a collective destiny, you have to have individuals who come together and form a government. Okay, you cannot have a collective destiny without having a collective government or an organization or some type of unifying force that brings people together to form a collective destiny. One of the sayings of the Republic of New Africa is, I believe in the destiny of our people, the collective destiny of our people. So if you believe in the collective destiny of our people, that means that all individuals of a certain mindset come together and formulate an organization or a government. That's a collective destiny. One thing that's been happening to our people for so long is that we've been hoodwinked. When I say hoodwinked, that means that we have listened to charismatic people tell you that their religion, whatever, will free you and you don't need nothing else. And we've been listening to that for over 100 years now. We have never made a collective decision about anything. So therefore, we have no collective destiny. But if you look at it on the negative side, our collective destiny seems to be that we are going to be forever under the thumbs and breastfed by the Europeans, who, as the brother stated, believe in manifest destiny. So therefore, when we're talking about destinies, I believe that the only way that we could change this destiny of ours, which is subservient, our destiny is subservient to the European or the white ruling class destiny. We have not decided on a destiny for ourselves. The only way you could decide on a destiny for yourself is that you have to be thinking about a nation, nationalism. That's the way I see it. But, I want to get some feedback from other people so we can really get this discussion heated up.
Yes. So, Chief X, what is your opinion on this subject? The mic is yours.
Okay, how you doing, Chief X? I have various opinions on this, and there's a variety of things that, as a people, we need to tap into. And one thing I always tell people, us as, whatever we want to term ourselves, Pan-Africans, Black nationalists, or what have you, we're actually in reality a very, very, very small block of people in regards to the whole of Black America. I'm not even sure if we're about 1% of Black America. And I tell people all the time that 90% of Black America is Christian-based. Whether you go to church every Sunday or just totally believe or dogmatic about the Bible and religion, basically people are just Christian-based. They believe in a Jesus. And more Pan-Africans and Black nationalists, what have you, may not follow that route. So whatever we are to do, the Black church has to be tapped into. It's a huge block. They have to be reached, And a lot of time I'm on Facebook and social media, and I try not to bash religion, but I just try to make people think by things that I say and the videos that I make. And, I always get inbox from Christian people. They say, they were sitting in church and they was thinking about what I said. I was on their mind. And, a lot of people are kind of falling off religion. And I just think that the church needs to be tapped, and we just need to, teach truth, teach Black history, the plight of our people, our ancient history, our glorious history we had, along the Nile Valley, all throughout West Africa. And the Black church don't really know that history, So it's hard for them to come around when they're under the philosophy and ideology of love everybody. Let's everybody hold hands with all races and things like that. And it will hold us back. And I made a video the other day I told people they need to watch the documentary, the Japanese-Chinese War. And I thought that was a great example. The Japanese-Chinese War was a time when the Chinese were under Japanese imperialism. And the Japanese were slaughtering Chinese. I mean, Chinese had it bad. They would remove them from their homes and ran them out of town and was killing them. And the Chinese were like, at poverty at this time, And they pulled themselves, as an example, up from their bootstrap, rebuild their own nation, separated. And although, like we say, black power, Chinese were about Chinese power. It was race first with them. And it's hard to, as a race of people, uplift themselves if they're not about, like black power or Chinese power. They began to grow. They recycled money amongst themselves. It was race. It was family first. And look at them today. They are thriving financially and economically as a nation. They're now, all up in Africa, help building roads and, although they are getting things for themselves and resources, they're not like an oppressive force in Africa. They're, in a sense, helping. So they pulled them up from the bootstrap. And it's the same thing that happened with the Irish. The Irish was a dirt poor people when they were here, just ruthless, bunch of gangsters. They lived in poverty. And they did the same type of thing, recycled amongst each other. It was like that, they bonded and had unity. And now today they're financially okay. It became family first with them. So, us as a people, we have to be about family first and black power. And, I say this because if you're not about black power, the only other thing you can be about is black powerlessness. 2 options. So religion has been a divisive force in the universe for centuries upon centuries, and really for us to really move forward, we're going to have to let go of religion and be a people about black power and Pan-African, or a social political movement. I made a video one time how I spoke to some Moors and some Hebrews and some Muslims, and I said, you know what, we need to all unite under one banner, and that banner should be the red, black, and green. The Garvey movement he didn't really push religion, although he may have been a Christian. I gravitated toward him because he didn't push religion. He was about a social political movement for African peoples, home and abroad. It wasn't, too much about religion. So when you were in Islam and when you were in a Hebrew or you're a Moor, it's hard to get with this black nationalism because, you have your own ideology. For me to be down with the Moors, I got to embrace the Moor science and their ideology. For me to be down with the Hebrews, I got to embrace Hebrewism. Same with the Muslims, same with the Christians. Everyone can leave their religion behind no matter what you are. You can still represent under the red, black, and green. It's a social political movement. It's a banner that we need to represent as a people. So when you see in boxing, when you see when the Mexican come in the ring, they come in the ring with the Mexican flag representing their bloodline and family first. If you're from Ukraine, the Ukrainians come into the boxing ring with their Ukrainian flag representing their people and their bloodline. Everybody has a flag and banner usually when they come into that boxing ring if they're from a different country and they represent. What do we come into the boxing ring with? The American flag, love everybody, all hold hands. We need a banner, the red, black, and green. Everyone needs to be about black power. So a lot of times I'm reaching out to Christian folk and church folk because that's our major block of people that we need to tap their minds and reach their minds. So if we all can get about black power, and represent. You know what I mean? We can grow, because then we can understand, the love of people, our history. We can start recycling dollars and things like that. And we have RBG Family Weekend coming up in Texas, August the 21st through 23rd. And it's like the 4th annual one. And every year it grows. And it's a young movement, because, a lot of times our leaders have come out of the youth. Martin Luther King was young. Malcolm X was young. Black Panther Party members were young. So our new, I don't want to say leaders, because people, have problems with it. Our new representatives and spokesmen are going to come from the youth. For RBG Family Weekend, we're having a code of conduct meeting. We consider ourselves Pan-Africans and represent red, black, and green. And we're going to have code of conduct. We're going to try to come up and have some spokesmen who represent the youth and the RBG movement that's going on, throughout social media. And I went last year, and it was the best event I've ever been to my whole life. I'm 45 years old. I mean, it was just like we was in a state of heaven at RBG Family Weekend in Texas last year in August. And it's coming up this year again. And everyone, it was no arguing, no bickering, wasn't about no religion. It was all about people coming together. Social media friends met and got together, and we bonded for 3 days, had a picnic, and it was just like I was just in my own country and just my own land, and it was just the best time I've had in my life. So we just need to bond under Black Power, and the banner should be RBG, in my opinion, which is the red, black, and green. Okay?
Okay, makes sense to me.
Well, it has a lot of he made a lot of interesting points. But if we look at the United States of America, how many religions and groups are here, but it's all under one government. The thing that holds America and all these people together is that government. You see, you have Arabs here, Japanese people here, everybody who come here fall under the auspices of the United States government. You see, so that government dictates to other people to tell them what to do. You see, so we can have all the good intentions and stuff that we want to have, but if you don't have something to hold that nation together, like the government, then you don't have anything. You just have a bunch of people with different ideas, some radical, some good, some bad, different religions. You got all kinds of religions in a nation. And the nation has to have a government. Everything has to be in order or regulated by a government. I don't understand why the so-called nationalist community refused to advocate for a government and nationhood. You see, a small country like Puerto Rico, okay, the United Nations had a special committee for the decolonization of this place, calling on the government of the United States to allow the Puerto Rican people to have self-determination and independence. We're not calling for independence. We just want to get along and say, well, black power. Yeah, well, black power is fine. But in what context is this black power if you don't have a nation or a government? If we have children, and our children go to these schools, okay, what are you going to teach them? Black power? We'll be doing this until our people are back in slavery, until we stand up and let the United States government know that we want to have and exercise self-determination as a people. We have a right, as a human being, we have special rights that we're supposed to be exercising, and no one has come forth from all these black power movements to say, well, we need independence. We need a government. We want freedom. You see what I'm saying? So it's very important. Mm-hmm. Go ahead, sis.
Oh, thank you. So there's so much. Firstly, what I want to add is that it's systemic in this country. It's everything is under the government, but our position in this country, the position of dissent, the condition rather of dissent that we're in, none of this was accidental. This is all by design. We have to take a separatist attitude. This is how I see it. We are the minority in this country. We make up approximately 13% of the population. White folks make up approximately 69% of the population, and the other folks are in between. They make up the rest, obviously. We will never have, it's just not going, we need to me, we have to coexist with white folks. That's just the way that it is. The folks who say fuck them, whatever, that's just, we can't live like that. It's not feasible. But what we have to do more of is utilizing our resources. There are resources available to us. Sometimes they come in the form of white folks. You got to get what you can get, learn it, and teach it to your people. Our own neighborhoods. Brother Haru and I were discussing this the other day. Our neighborhoods are squalor. We're living in filthy conditions. We can't have clean, collective, and cohesive minds living in chaos. All of this affects us. It affects our thinking. It affects the way we view each other. There are we have to start on a fundamental level. You know what I'm saying? We have to. Then there's education. Our children are set up to fail. The schools are just filled with educators who go to work. There are occasionally the Miss Johnsons and Mr. whomever who actually cares and gives a damn, but eventually even they start to give up because they're faced with these challenges every year, and they're faced with a multitude of challenges, children with issues. Black folks have a story, be it murder, rape, neglect, abuse, drugs. Black folks have a story. You're hard-pressed to find 1 out of 5 who don't have a story, and we're not dealing with these things. So we're coming from a place of disadvantage and disenfranchisement. We all know this. We have to address these things, and this is our commonality with the Christians and the Moors and the Nuwabians and the whomever. We got to address our commonalities so that we can get the factions to understand that we are in this plight together. There's always going to be resistance, but rather than focusing on them, I think we need to continue to talk to the people who we can connect with. Focus on like minds. I identify as Pan-African and RBG. I have for years. However, I see a lot of finger pointing and berating and denigrating, and it's unproductive. We all individually should weed our circles out, but spending time blasting people, which I'm seeing a lot of, and banging, not anybody in particular here or anything, but pointing out every day how somebody's this, somebody's that. I'm seeing like the factions do, and I'm just understanding. I'm trying to you have to weed out the bad. Absolutely, that has to be done. But then the folks. How did Malcolm say it? What you know today is not, you didn't always know what you knew today. So there's some people who are just awakening, and when they get a barrage of insults and so forth, they're going to be turned away. The conscious community is small, and the Internet shows you exactly how small it is. So of the 13% that we make up in this country, the conscious community is probably a quarter of 1%. But you start to see it as the Internet circles. You know what I mean? You start to fall into patterns, and you see people who you got 50 friends with. They're in another state. Sometimes they're in another country, and you got 13 mutual friends. And the cycle repeats. You start seeing the same names over. You start viewing people's videos, and you end up coming into contact with the same people. So it's a small faction of folks awakening. I do believe that the paradigm is shifting, but I think it could shift a lot faster any movement happens in tears, but I think it could happen faster if folks were more understanding of the people who are not quite awake. There's a lot to do. We're a people without a culture. If we identified with our commonalities first, and then dealt with the Moors wanting to be Moors, and I get aggravated with all of that stuff because it's all it's separating us from the things we shouldn't be separated from. But I mean, I'm working on me and figuring this thing out as I go along as well. I'm starting to see things, as I view other people. But again, there's always going to be resistance. We have to focus on separating ourselves, educating ourselves, and doing for ourselves, cleaning up where we live. Because when things look better, you feel better. When they feel better, you can receive better, and you can cleanse yourself. We're messed up. We are messed up people. So
I think there's for me, going door to door and working with the people in my community, and they were not what you would call conscious people, but they are aware of the conditions. Okay? Now, the conscious community, or the so-called nationalists, black nationalists, revolutionaries, and all that, if we were to go through our people like the Jehovah's Witnesses do, we have to come out of that bag that we're so because we have a little bit of knowledge of the history and this that we're better than they are.
Agreed.
These are our people. Even the gang boys. I had an old gang friend of mine come by today. And I'm looking at him. He's loud and cussing and carrying on. I said, I started to feel a little. I started feeling some kind of way. I said, this Negro haven't changed none. You see what I'm saying? But the fact that I'm there listening to him, you understand? We're bonding because, hey, we're the same people. We went through the same thing under the system. So when we look at our people, we can't look down on them because they don't know who Marcus Garvey was or who built the pyramids. You see, we have to make a concerted effort to connect with our people on the level that they're on. And I guarantee you, once you do that, once you get into the community and they see you with a broom in your hand, you see, cleaning up the community, and plus dropping a little bit of your knowledge or your consciousness on them, then you might see some changes. But you have to mingle with these people. You have to be with them. It's a struggle that we have to, because we're conscious, we have to go to them and teach them by example. You see what I'm saying? So I'm getting the experience right now from communicating with them, knocking on doors, talking to them, treating them like human beings. And that's what they want. They want to be treated like human beings, not looked down upon. You follow what I'm saying? So I see us, regardless of what we call ourselves, if we don't connect with these so-called unconscious people, we're doomed. Because like you said, it's only 1% of the pop. They don't care nothing about. They don't care nothing about what we're talking about because they don't see us in the community. The only time they see us, we're going to a cultural event. You see what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Some of these people we don't even speak to our people a lot. How you doing, brothers and sisters? We don't do that to them. You see, but we see somebody coming down the street with a dashiki on or wearing dreadlocks, we swear that they're conscious. That's not always the case. A lot of these people in the church are conscious, but they don't, just because they have a belief system that we don't approve of, that don't mean that they don't know what's going on. If we say that we're the conscious community, then that means that we're supposed to be the leaders.
True.
You see, if you can't lead unless you're a good follower. You see, everybody wants to be an internet revolutionary. It's not happening. You got to get out here with these people. You got to get in the trenches in order to bring about a change. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. Mm-hmm.
And within this so-called conscious movement, just like I'm going to touch on what Brother Xavier was talking about the Chinese. The Chinese became nationalistic. And out of the nationalistic party grew the Communist Party. And then they shut off their borders and they basically forced their people to become Chinese again. Because they was colonized along with Africa. The scramble for Africa and the scramble for China was simultaneous. But how was the Chinese able to get out of it, and the Africans were not able to fully get out of it and be recolonized through neo-colonialism? It's just something about the African mindset. And I've been trying to figure it out for a long time that enables people to fool us and continuously trick us, and it's time to bring it to an end. Now, they can have I used to go to all these things, to RBG this and the RBG that. The only thing I really will go to now is the Brooklyn Festival, where people are selling stuff and everything, because I like to do my business with Africans and buy different things for black people that I sell myself. I resell it. So that's the only thing. But going to these festivals and listening to music and turning this thing into a big party is not my ideal of our people moving forward. So I don't really partake in a lot of these events they got in lectures, and I haven't been to a lecture in years and years and years, probably almost over 20 years, because this thing here is more about lectures and everything. We don't get a political movement going within our people. First we got to get it going within us. Like the brother said, we got to knock on these doors of these churches, these mosques, and reason with these people, our people. No matter what their religion is and everything, we're not talking religion. We're talking about self-determination. We're talking as a people. We're talking about taking our race. And if you do have a religion and your religion is able to instill moral values into the people, then do it. Because a lot of our leaders, tried to take this white religion that we have, Christianity and Islam, and turn it into a black nationalistic religions, like Clegg in Detroit with the Shrine of the Black Madonna, right? Elijah Muhammad with the Nation of Islam. So they tried to use the religion itself, just like the white man used it, to achieve the goal of nationalism. But we do need something that's going to pull us together. And I thought it would be all this violence that's being perpetrated on us. But it seems like instead of letting the violence make us make the right type moves, we're just marching with signs and begging and making slogans, Black Lives Matters, and climbing up poles, snatching down flags. And now this flag thing, snatching that down, has took the focus off of the murders that happened in the church.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and we're content with so little. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and these churches, we know we hate to be around this white Jesus thing because, like the brother said, when you get conscious, sometimes you don't even want to involve yourself with even your family members because they piss you off because you can't understand how they still believing in this stuff and how they're putting their trust in this stuff, and it never worked for us, and it still has us in a state of servitude because we have never been free. We were just brought into a different type of enslavement because as long as someone has control over you, total control, you're a slave. Okay. And that's it. And this whole system is a system of control. And it has to have different players, a caste system. And the whites are not going to make their own people the lowest of low. So they keep us in this poverty situation. They flush the drugs in our neighborhood. They even have us partaking in bringing the drugs. And I was watching this documentary somebody sent me today about this guy named Frank Matthew. He was the biggest dope dealer. They said Nicky Barnes and Frank Lucas and all them couldn't touch this guy. And this guy actually ran and never has been apprehended by the police in over 40 years, right? So this guy here, they was like pushing him up, like people was on the video talking about he was making money and doing it, but the dude was just a parasite. This is how bad it's gotten to our people, that we look at the parasites of our community and the people that rob our community as leaders that just take in and put nothing back. So we don't hurry up and get a political movement where our people can vote on what we need to do, put up referendums and all these different things and things on the ballot where people can vote and educate these people and do a door-to-door grassroots movement. This other stuff is just a joke. You're just fooling yourself that you RBG, red, black, and green, because red, black, and green stands for nationhood. And without nationhood, you might as well throw your red, thinking about nationhood, you might as well throw your red, black, and green away somewhere or put it up in the attic or somewhere, because you carrying it around, you walking around, and now your RBG ideology has became just like civil rights. You're not thinking about a nation. You think about how to get a better position within white supremacy. And that's what we have come to. Brother the mic is yours.
You said Brother who?
Brother Bartley.
Oh, okay. All right. I thought you were talking to Brother GX, Brother X there.
Hey, come back. Whichever one of y'all ready to speak. If you ain't ready to speak, then let Brother.
I'm always ready with this thing here. You know what I mean? It's just that when you've been doing it so long, it becomes frustrating even talking about it. You know what I'm saying? That we have been talking about this stuff for so long, okay, and nothing concrete has come out of it. Most of these groups, sooner or later, will turn on each other. It's going to be, it's almost like what's going on with the militias and the Democrats and all that. They're getting ready to go into a civil war type of thing. It's headed that way. Now, what about these Negroes who following these charismatic leaders who really only thinking about the little, their egos and the little organizations and little groups that they have? It's going to be chaotic once a civil war break out. You don't know who's going to be who's going to be on what side. You understand what I'm saying? So if we're not organized, we're not an organized people, that means that we're going to be taken advantage of. See, it's about power is about being unified, okay? Take, for instance, me and the brother was talking today about politics, and I'm telling him that you're already a politician. If you was from a gang, you was a politician, because in a gang, you know that there's power and there's strength in numbers, and numbers mean power. You see, so one of the things that's affecting us is that we fall for these different groups. You see, I'm guilty of it too. I've been in about 5 or 6 so-called groups, each one of them thinking that they are the salvation of the African people, and it's just, it's a mess. So like I said, if we don't organize now or begin to organize, when these people come down on you, they don't care whether you're a Christian, Muslim, or whatever, or drug dealer, or whatever, we all want to be subjected to getting our behinds reamed out, because we're living in some real serious time. We just going along thinking that the little things that's happening with Ferguson and all these places, and you see the reactionaries come out, you know, we thinking that this is leadership. You see, all this stuff is by design to keep you away from organizing. You see, reaction. You get out there with a sign and you marching and praying and all like that. That's reactionary stuff. You see a woman go up and take a flag down and everybody cheering, yo. You don't understand it. That could be set up because it's leading somewhere. This flag stuff and the killings is leading to something. And that something don't look good for us because we're on the bottom looking up. You see, so I'm just doing what I do, and I feel good about what I do. Communicating with the people, help clean up the neighborhood, working with the children, until something come along till we start really thinking politically. We're not politically astute. And we're talking about why the African is subjected to colonization is because he's still into his tribal state. He's not thinking in terms of a political body. We're thinking tribalism. So what you have with all these different groups is modern-day tribalism, plain and simple. So sooner or later, these tribes are going to clash. It's going to be bloodshed among these so-called groups who think that in their minds and in their heart that they are liberating our people, and that's not true because it's not a consensus. In order for a group to lead anybody, the masses of our people have to have some input in like a plebiscite or referendum, where we vote on who we want to represent us, the same as the Navajo Nation. If you know it or not, whether you know it or not, the Navajo Nation have a Supreme Court. They have their own government. Now, what's stopping them is that they are still subject to the government of the United States, but they still can elect who they want to represent them. See, we haven't moved to that stage yet. I was reading the paper the other day where the Minister Farrakhan, is calling for a 1 million man march again to Washington, D.C. All right, that's good. I'm not trying to bash the brothers, but if you look at Detroit with the killings, there seems to me that you should have a 1 million man march in Chicago. You see, where this is the murder capital of the country. You see, so when you look at the divergence, and you can see that these so-called people who are out there, they're not really serious. They just milking this black cow. You see what I'm saying? They getting all the monies and living large, but none of them is talking about a real reparation movement. If there's a reparation movement, how come we haven't seen nobody in the community passing out flyers and knocking on some doors talking about reparations? You see? So, I mean, you know, it starts where you live at. It starts in your community. You see, so if you're telling people that, we had a reparation conference at Howard University, all these bourgeois Negroes sitting up there talking about reparations, and you never see none of them in the community. So how are the people in the church or the average man in the street supposed to know about reparations? And he's the one who, in the final analysis, he's the one supposed to be voting on whether we want reparations or not. They're not educating us. So it's a bourgeois movement. You see? So now it's time for the grassroots people to bring this political movement into fruition. Because we know that those up top is comfortable. You see, they living good. You see? So it's frustrating. That's the last.
Let's hear you chime in on this issue.
Who did you say?
I said, let me hear your chime in on this issue.
geez. It's a frustrating discussion because for every person who is aware of these things, there are probably 20 people who are not unaware but ignorant, and they just don't consider it. You know what I'm saying? Reactionary. People are going to be reactionary. You know, there's a catalyst to a movement. Typically, not all the time. Sometimes there's a movement brewing, and it's brewing because of the underlying need. But oftentimes there's a catalyst, and I'm not mad at the reactionaries. Whatever it takes. The problem is to keep it going. We are becoming desensitized with the Fergusons and the Trayvon and the Mike Brown. None of this. I mean, this is a tumultuous time for us. But when has it not been a tumultuous time? You know, it's because of the internet that the recent happenings are able to spread, and the media is no longer able to control the narrative. The people are reporting the news as quickly or faster. You know what I'm saying? And it's getting out there. If it weren't for the media or the internet in particular, Trayvon, even though he never did get quote unquote justice, what's his name? George Zimmerman would never have even gotten arrested. Because remember, he was questioned briefly, they were all chummy with him, and he was released. It was the internet outrage. So this was also reactionary is what I'm getting at. You know, these things were the catalyst. But there's just so much work to do, and I think that we do have to start focusing on again, I said this already, and Brother Bartley said it as well, we have to focus on the commonalities. I even think Chief X might have said that. We got to focus on the commonalities. We have to focus on the threads that bring us together rather than the ones that separate us. I believe there are people in the churches. I wish they would get out, but I believe there are people in the churches who know what is happening, and they know that we need to band together, and they're just as sick of it and just as disgusted. And we do need to talk to them. We do need to start approaching rather than you know, we all want them out of the church. We know that it's poison. We know that it's the white man's religion. We know that it was beaten into our ancestors, and it's ludicrous for anyone to willfully adopt it. But that's not where they are just yet. So we have to focus on what it would take to bring them to us, because we need each other. You know, there's strength in numbers, and there's not enough of us. I mean, maybe there are, I don't know. But I just think that a bigger movement will yield better results. So that is my take on that.
Well, I think that the so-called Black Power movement nowadays, and starting out with that rap, Black Power rap with Public Enemy and Queen Latifah, and a few of them has really turned into more of a theatrical, feel-good thing, just like going to church on Sunday. And you go to your little meeting, somebody gives a good speech, and you feel good, but there's no political, no military, no economic, no anything that's really about a real movement behind it. And I think it needs to be totally abandoned, because it's a joke, and they look at us and they smile and keep on killing us, and we killing each other, and we have no laws in our community, nothing to set forth for us to control our own community, because you say white folks got the police up there, but the white folks control the police in their community, but the police control us in our community. It's a difference. You don't see the white police harassing white folks in their community because they control the economics and everything in their community, and they actually pay the police. Now, we pay the police through so-called taxes and everything. Most of the people in the ghetto and stuff don't even really pay tax. I mean, maybe they don't own houses and stuff to pay, you know, taxes on houses and land and all that. They may be paying a little income tax and stuff, and then if you really on poverty, you're on welfare and all that, you ain't paying nothing into the system. Plus, you don't. You're both the average black person is politically illiterate, and they only vote. Mm-hmm. Most of them only vote in the presidential election, but they don't vote in the local elections. and they don't belong to any. And myself, that's been involved, because I've been involved in this fake movement for so long. It took me time to see. And it's nothing the matter with getting faked out. But once you learn, it's time to tell the people and try to take a different road towards this plight of our people. Now, we see earlier that Garvey and them had committees, and they had people elected to different positions and everything in order to, to be able to do something for the plight of our people. They even went to, before it was the UN, it was the League of Nations. They went to the League of Nations, were able to use another country to get their ideals of repatriation talked about inside the League of Nations at the time that became the United Nations today. So we need to be visiting the United Nations. We need to train, and I'm saying we can use the Cuban model. Cuba trained all their young people, and then they sent them out all amongst their people to spread education and everything. And now Cuba is one of the most educated countries in the world. They put out more doctors. Their doctors are the best in the world. They've flown everywhere to do operations and stuff on everybody. Even though they had all these sanctions on them, they were able to stick together for what they believed in, and they still survive as an independent people in Cuba. Matter of fact, Cuba is one of the last 5 countries that's not in total control of the New World Order. So they did what they had to do, and we're going to have to do it. We're going to have to educate these youths. We're going to have to go up in these churches, mosques, and black synagogues, and we're going to have to plead with these people that it's time to, I'm not saying get rid of your religion, but it's time to add something with that religion so we can move our people along. Because if you look around, just point out all the things. We don't own nothing in our community but the churches or funeral parlor. And somebody's telling me the funeral parlor is now not even owned by us. It's just blacks there fronting for white owners, that they brought them all up. Because there's so many black people who died and getting killed in the ghetto, it was a good investment. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Negroes dying like flies, and it has to be somebody making money off of that. Just like the medical thing. Negroes are sick because we don't control what comes into our community, the food distribution, nothing do we control. We're under the total, complete mercy of the system. And that has to change. And all these RBG get-togethers and lectures and arguing about who got the best leader, and Dr. York had the right ideal. Elijah Muhammad had the right ideal. Malcolm X had the right ideal. We got to stop living off of these ancient people that's dead and gone notoriety and not even trying to do what they were doing.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
It became a game, and somebody needs to call it out. It's become a joke, and we at Wake Up African People are calling it out. And you need to listen to this. We need to change direction. Nobody's hating on you. Nobody's hating on what's going on. We just been misled by a lot of greedy white. And for instance, let me tell you this: the nationalistic movement was what the whites were seeking to destroy during the 60s and the 70s, because they brought in that's why they uphold Kwanzaa and gave you that Kwanzaa Day and all that, because they brought in these cultural hippies, I call, like Malana Karinga. And he was Ron, what's his name? Ron what, Brother Bartley?
Who, Ron Karinga?
Ron. Yeah.
Wasn't he a rapist?
Yeah. Yeah, he tortured and raped these dark-skinned women that was in his harem.
Yeah.
And he spared the light-skinned. But he beat them, he burned them, he tortured them, he stuck hot objects in their vagina and their rectum and everything, and went to jail. And then they said he was a sociopath, a schizophrenic. And after he got out of jail, he walked out of jail into the CLA head of the Afrocentric department. in UCLA. Now, who walks out of jail black into a job like that?
They
so you know,
he was an agent.
That's what. So what? They replace
That's a real
nationalism.
definition of an agent.
They replace nationalism with this Afro hippie stuff, I call it. So this is where we still at today. People want to wear the clothes and stuff and everything and feel as though they're culturally in depth and connected to Africa some type of way, but there's no political apparatus to achieve what we need to achieve as a people. And we all the way in Africa, but our own communities and everything are totally deteriorated, and we don't control anything there. What do we have to offer Africa even?
Let me chime in on this.
Yes.
This Chief X. So, certain things we've been talking about so far on this show, and we're going to have to actually really just be practical, okay? What will actually work, okay? Now, we spoke about government, and that's key. We spoke about commonalities and the religion. The reason why Islam, since been in existence since 1930, only today have like one school in Chicago, is because it's a form of religion. Okay? And to be down with all that and even to get into the Nation of Islam school, you have to become a Muslim under their type of Muslim. And like I said before, to be down with the Moors, you have to embrace that ideology. So we have to understand that religion, regards to commonalities, is a divisive force. The Hebrews don't want to be down with the RBC. The Moors don't want to be down with the Muslims. The Christians don't want to be down with the Nation of Islam. We have to understand that. History has shown that. Okay? So what's practical? We're talking about government. So we have to have a mock government, basically, here in America, because America already has a government. That we have the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. And you're talking about voting and all this other stuff. That means we have to join in with the white supremacist system. No. So what's practical? Okay, I mentioned the RBG Family Weekend for a real serious reason. And a lot of people may not know the sincerity of the youth in the RBG movement right now. And when we talk about governments and nations, every government and nation has a flag, something they represent, a banner, a symbol, or a sign. In Islam, they have the crescent. In Christianity, they have the cross. The Hebrews have the six-pointed star, pointed star of David. Okay? So if we're going to be speaking practical things in reality, and when we talk about commonalities, we in the RBG movement, we always say this is Marcus Garvey revamped. The older generation and all of us, we're going to have to fall in line with something and not just always talk. We're going to have to fall in line with something. The older generation is going to have to fall in line with the youth, because the youth carry the spirit and the energy. You understand what I'm saying? They have this energy, this fervent energy. In social media, it's absolutely necessary, or you won't even hear about things. Like Facebook, Twitter, and all that, these are information highways. If there wasn't here, we wouldn't even hear about certain incidents, because you can't just go door to door anymore. Nobody will know what you're doing or what's going on in California and New York if we're going door to door. So social media is necessary. So I mentioned the RBG movement because I heard Brother B talking about unity, okay? And we have 50 states. And if we're talking about commonalities, we have to The RBG movement, Pan-African, Marcus Garvey revamped, is a social political movement, basically. It's not a religion. So we don't care what religion you are, everyone still can represent the RBG banner in the social political movement and still keep their religion. Moors, Hebrews, Nubians, all of them can keep their religion and fall in line under the banner of a social political movement, which is commonalities, and that's the red, black, and green. Marcus Garvey revamped. Okay? Now, we have these 50 states. What we need is African-centered schools all around these 50 states. Okay?
That I
in
agree.
Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas, they are serious, and we are talking about plans. That's what RBG Family Weekend is going to be. So now, I don't know if you guys know, but different states have their own movement. They have North Carolina RBGs. They have Texas RBGs. We got California RBGs. You know, they have the Milwaukee RBG. And all of these states are falling under the banner of RBG. Okay, we're all meeting in Texas because we can't get anything together if we're not in each other's face and talking and meeting and getting to know each other. People can be in New York and do door to door and talk about it. We don't know what you're doing over there because you haven't come together to meet. First, people have to come together and meet and fall under a banner, a flag, a nation to represent, and that flag has to be RBG. And we have to fall in line with something. Okay, so the meeting, the RBG Family Weekend, is more serious than people think because everyone has agreed already. The Texas RBGs, the North Carolina RBGs, the South Carolina RBGs, Cali RBGs, that when we get to Texas, we're going to have a meeting of code of conduct, and we're going to pick a spokesman and a representative. And that representative who people are talking about is Baba Amin, who is the founder of
the Uhuru Academy. Mm-hmm.
The founder of Uhuru Academy. He's a down-to-earth guy, not all big old popular and, you know, trying to juke the people and all that. He's a real person who he gets along with the elders and he gets along with the youth. So he's a an intermediary type of kind of guy. And when we get there, everyone is talking about nominating him as the RBG spokesman or representative. So we have to start small now. Because Kemet in ancient Egypt is dead. The Black Panther Party is actually in reality is dead. The Nation of Islam movement haven't done nothing, that's dead. We're starting from ground right now, and we're trying to expand this. That's why the RBG Family Weekend is grown. Every year it grows more and more people. It's going to be 5 times as many people as there were last year. And we basically said to ourselves, what everybody's talking about, okay, cool. We're going to start organizing now, and this is what we're doing, and we're picking a spokesman. And all these 50 states will know. If you represent RBG under the banner of red, black, and green, all these 50 states will know Baba Amin is our spokesman and representative. We have to start with something and fall in line. And the youth has to be part of this. And social media has to be part of this. Okay? Baba Amin is the representative for 50 states and spokesman. I'm just giving you an example. It's for 50 states and the spokesman. We have a code of conduct we're talking about. Okay? That's where we have to start. And this is actually a plan. This man is respected. Okay? So from that, 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line, it grows and grows and grows. Now we begin to share each other's businesses, what everybody's doing. What's your business? What's your black business? We got a black toilet paper company, toilet tissue company now here. We share that information. Everybody buys from this black toilet. When they want toilet tissue, they buy from this black-owned toilet tissue company. And everybody's getting together and meeting and spreading and discussing their ideas. This is practical. This is actually a reality that happened. We've invited Hebrews, Moors, and they're going to be there. But they understand the commonalities, what we all need as a people. Forget your religion and your ideology of your theology and all that old type of stuff. So this is actually a practical thing that we need to fall in line under. It's going to work if people fall in line. You know what I mean? and you know, I'm kind of passionate about this because I can vision it. You know what I mean? I can vision it 10 years down the line. Next year they're talking about having it in California. And then maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 years down the line, it can be an international thing where people from all kind of countries. Because actually, African Americans are the most powerful black folk in the world. All trends start with us. Sports, entertainment, we run this here in America. Every country copies our trends. So when it's going to jump off, it's going to jump off from black Americans, and we're going to set it off for the rest of the world. And they're going to follow our lead.
May I say something?
And I want to go after
off?
you. I want to go after you.
What I'm saying is we don't control nothing in America.
Right.
Period. We may be participating in it, but at the end of the day, at the end of the money trail, the Caucasians are running it. And the thing is that we have these things, but if they're not setting up no political apparatus or trying to get some votes for people, one man ahead of 50 states doesn't even sound realistic to me.
No,
you know,
we don't want to say he's not dead. He's just like a spokesman, a representative, and we're going to call kind of all, you know. And it's in the beginning stages, so we understand that we have to have rules and a political force and things like that. But still, you got to understand that we're in America. Your government is not going to be like a legit government. It's going to still be like a mock de facto thing that's underground.
No, but see, that doesn't matter. It don't have to be underground. It can be on top of the ground. Jews got the Jewish League. They get together and vote on Jewish issues. The Anglo-Saxons got their organizations where they vote together on their issues. We don't have that as a people. And we don't get together and vote on our issues for what's going to go on and what's going to happen and what we're going to allow to happen inside our community. It's got to be a grassroots program. Now, we can go and meet in California. We can meet in San Francisco. We can meet in New York. But if no political grassroots groundwork is not being done, it's just going to be a big party, just like the Million Man March.
Agreed. Very true.
So we need you to come down. We need all y'all to come down. We need the elders to come down and talk about this.
And that's another thing. Now, everyone does have to fall in line, and the youth they hold the revolution in their hands, but putting the youth ahead is like the tail wagging the dog. Baba Amin would make a great spokesperson. I do happen to know of the brother. I've spoken to him a couple of times, but saying that the youth, that is total chaos. They already referring to, and this is within the RBG faction, referring to women as bitches and hoes, with wanton disregard, and there's drug usage, and there's some bedlam. There is some bedlam. So I don't think that's not practical, using your own word. I don't think that's practical. And he's right that money, we don't have the power. The get-togethers and the powwows are great, but economically we need to be in a position of, we have to place ourselves in a position of power. What good is a bunch of broke black folks, you know, getting together and what are we celebrating? There's nothing to celebrate.
Nope. No reason for us to be even celebrating. We got too much work to do to be celebrating and partying, getting together and flinging up flags. Everybody got their red, black, and green, but it's nothing. There's no sustenance in there. There's no substance there. It's just a bunch of.
I agree. I agree. Not yet. That's what this is starting for. We're trying to build some substance. When I talk about substance and things, you know, it's just a start. So I've been around in social media. I don't see anybody else trying to organize or uniting. The other things are just festivals. People come out on the weekend and sell stuff. Nobody, no other unit, no other state, no other people are actually talking about unifying and discussing this. It's like I don't see anybody else doing that.
Now you can't say that because you don't know what everybody's doing in America. Because when you just said you don't know what New York doing, you don't know what they're doing in L.A. and what they do. You don't know what little groups are maybe working diligently to try to do something for our people. Because I know a few people myself that sit in on the UN with Africans and stuff and gives them advice. And the brother lives in D.C. He's in the UNIA. And he goes back and forth to Africa, and he advises the Africans on different things before the Africans make their deal. So it's individuals, but we need a mass movement, grassroots, knocking on doors, using the internet, using billboards, whatever type of apparatus we can use to get the message out to our people that we got to have one gigantic powwow amongst us. So change what's going on in our communities and our people with our children, and these people could come in your house and take the children away, and nobody fights together even for their children. They done turned this thing of taking people's children away into a business where they're making money. So it's things in our community. They got our women believing that abortions is okay to go to abortion clinic, kill your unborn baby. They have our children thinking that homosexuality is an okay thing to do now. They just made 50 states that it's okay for people of the same gender to get married. Now you know they're going to be coming after black kids in masses because they can't have no kids, and they're giving no white kids up to gay couples. That's the last thing they can get. It costs so much for a white kid, they settle for a little kid. Now you got a little black kid in the house with two men or two women cohorting in the same bedroom and everything, and you wonder what's going through this child's mind growing up. And they're going to tell you that this is okay.
But you did say we don't take our leaders, right?
Your children, when you have no control even over your own children anymore, you don't control nothing. But that was the last place. That's one thing my mother used to say, that a black man, only place that he can rule is his home. Outside his home, he don't rule nothing. But when he come home, he can rule his children, his wife. You know, he felt like a king at home. But right now, even in the home, they got your children ratting on you if you discipline them, and then they come and take them away and put them on. And when they realize they did wrong and they want to come back home, they slam them on medication and say they're delusional. So, this thing is really deep. We need to get together, and we need to a political program going.
Okay, I think let me say another question. I think we all, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I think we all do agree. We all have said in all of our talks that we all do that, right? Okay. Anybody got any ideas?
I would say this. The internet, that's a good thing. We have to use all the weapons that we at our disposal. Even voting in the political arena, we're supposed. You know what I mean? You got to use those votes. You see what I'm saying? You might not like it, but you're in a system. You have to be in the system in order for you to bring about change in your community. So we have to use. Brother Redmond Battles told me, he said, you have to use all the weapons at your disposal. You can't disregard any weapons that we have. We don't have many, but what we do have is the vote. Okay? So now I'm involved in the community. I've been into about 3 or 4 political elections. I helped get the governor elected, the mayor elected, and a couple of senators. So I'm taking part, but in doing so, I'm communicating with people who actually feel the same way I feel. You see what I'm saying? They understand that they have to use what's there. You have to use what's there. The black politicians who we elect, we have to start on the grassroots level of getting to know these people who we're going to put in office, and to make sure that these people are going to look after our interests.
And that mind that's down and represent.
Excuse me?
Do you know any politicians right now who represent black nationalism and is talking about nationhood? Any politician?
What's the guy named that was in Chicago? Bobby Rush. All
okay,
right?
but
This
is why I'm saying we have to be practical right now. Okay.
Excuse me?
This is why I'm saying we have to be practical. Now, I understand about Bobby Rush. Is Bobby Rush actually down with black nationalism?
We don't know. We know that his action in there has been proven to be geared towards the black people, the rising of the black people. So he just can't come out in you know what I'm saying? You just can't come out in a man's system and say, well, I'm for black nationalism. We don't back up our politicians because we don't have the real unity in the organizational structure that's needed to do the things that's necessary for us. If we had any kind of unity, then these politicians would actually have to serve us.
Okay, so you mentioned the Jewish League, and the Jewish League is organized and making inroads. So this is what I'm saying. If we're talking about immediately jumping off something, what's wrong with the Pan-African RBG League? We become
I didn't say anything was wrong with it, brother. I didn't say that. I didn't say anything was wrong with it. You see, but let's be for real. The system is running off of capital, finances. All right. Regardless of what you say or I say, if we don't have no finances, really the vote that you voting don't mean nothing. You see what I'm saying? You have to vote your interest. So if we control our communities, then we are able to control the political people who supposedly represent us in the system.
So our government is American government then, right? We're back to that.
Right. The Internet is an American invention that you're using. If he decides any day now to say, well, we're going to shut the Internet down or we're going to put restrictions on the Internet, you can't say this and you can't say that. It's the same thing. If you don't have no type of unity, he can do this. You see, and you don't have no system of your own. If you're depending on one system, if you're just depending on the Internet to get the word out, all they got to do is shut it down. And the Internet, they could put propaganda on that. What you see on that screen don't necessarily have to be the truth. We don't have no newspapers to actually go into these spots and report the news to us.
But when I say Internet, I'm speaking of one particular thing. We're going to utilize everything, grassroots, right. Internet, everything.
But that's what I was saying all along. You see, it's not just that we have to fall in line with the RV movement. It's that we have to look at this thing from a realistic standpoint of view. That's built on economics.
So if every government, every nation has a flag, what's going to be our flag?
A flag is this. A flag supposed to represent a nation of people. And in order for you to have a flag, you got to have some land or property or something.
Right. So, but we're not talking about getting land if we're talking about having Bobby Rush and moving in with the United States government and doing politics again. The same old thing. That's not talking about land.
It's nothing wrong with politics if you don't. It's our fault that we don't know how to use the political system.
But to speak to Chief X's point, I totally get that. I do think we should not unite under the banner of at least the philosophy and the principles of the RBG flag. The red, white, and blue flag is obviously not ours, and we come from all different countries in Africa. So one that represents Pan-Africanism, which is, loosely the idea of a united Africa, especially since we don't know, most of us don't know exactly where we originated, makes sense. So, yes, I understand what you're saying about the flag. That makes sense to me.
Because Garvey gave us that flag because we didn't know what country it exactly came from.
Which is why I got the point.
Given to Black Americans. Marcus Garvey had the biggest movement, and he represented with the red, black, and green. That has to be our flag and our symbol.
You have to understand what the red, black, and green flag is, because having the red, black, and green flag in your hand or representing it, and you don't know what Garvey put it down for us to follow, it doesn't even make any sense because everything has been written. It's a whole government situation written down by Garvey. It's a whole constitution and everything, how we should run ourselves. And people are looking past that, and this is something that was actually working, but the government of the world came down on him because he was making too much noise and people was listening. And he didn't have any internet. He didn't even have TV. So the thing is we got to pull together and start a political parties, no matter where you are, and then we can choose our people that's from amongst us and run them for offices. That people with the same ideology that you got. And then once we get them up there, and this is exactly what the homosexuals did. Now, I don't like to use them for much of no comparison, but they put all their people inside politics, into the political arena. In some of the highest echelons, maybe even president right now. And they got all their affairs taken care of because they got into the politics. Now,
but
we had to some point.
And this
we had to some point get into these politics and use them for our own self-benefit. That's what the Brother Bartley is trying to say. And what I understand him. Now, the movement, the red, black, and green. I'm a Garveyite. I'm registered UNIA member. And the thing is that the red, black, and green is the only flag we ever had here in America that represent nationhood, nation building, and all of us. And I'm going to touch on this, and then we're going to get off here because we're over time. Liberia was given to us, to African descendants of African slaves. Every person in America that can trace their lineage back to slavery is a Liberian citizen. They're trying to change the law now in Liberia before Negroes want to start going back there because white folks is over there developing. They done found some resources over there they need. So the thing is that I think it's a good place to enter if you want to go to Africa, because to me the whole world is ours. But we have to set up a nation somewhere. Like you said, the Republic of New Africa wanted 5 states. Mississippi was one of them. And we got to come up with a plan. That's it. We have a plan. We just got to start. Let's put it this way. Now come up with a plan. There is a plan. There's been many plans. We need to take these plans and make them work for us. And we're going to close out because we're above our time frame. 27 minutes of our cutoff time. And this was a very good conversation. I hope to finish up on it because there's a lot of things we could touch on. And we're going to bring in some the next time we're going to bring some people, money managers and brothers talking about how we can make money and get money to help us and help revitalize our community. And it's easy to get the money, and it's not that much effort as we think it is to get money. And this brother's an expert. I sent Brother Bartley a video on the brother. I think his name is Dr. Phil Golden, I think his last name is. If I'm wrong, I hope he